So we're looking at the first few questions on the 2018 Foundation Paper 1. First question, work out a half times 5. Well, there are three ways of doing this, really. You could say a half times 5. Well, I know what a half of 5 is. A half of 5 is 2.5. So we've already found the answer. But your teacher might have shown you a more mathematical way of doing it. And that would be to say, well, that's a half times 5 over 1. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2, so that's 5 over 2, and 5 over 2 is an improper fraction, which we know is 2.5. So that's the second way of finding it. The third way is a half times 5. Well, there's half a cake. There's the other half of the cake. Not very good drawings, but 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, and 5 halves. 5, lots of a half, 2.5. There it is. Question 2, circle a number that is 5 less than -2 or -2. So let's have a look at a number line. There's a 0, -2 is there, and we want 5 less. Well, we know we've got to go that way because we're doing 5 less. So we're taking away 5. So 5 less that way is going to get us to -7. So that's that one there. Remember, if you're taking, you go that way. If you're adding, you go that way. Question 3. Simplify 3 times a times 3 times a. These are all multiplied together. If they're all multiplied together, that means they can be written in any order. So we could write that as 3 times a times a. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and a times a is a squared. So we've got the answer 9a squared. Question 4. You could spend ages on this. It's worth 1 mark only. Now, every mark is really important because 1 mark could be the difference between a 3 and a 4 or a 4 and a 5. So it's really important, but you don't want to spend ages on it. You could get a ruler and measure that out and then try and measure these to see which one is similar to that one. But I'm going to suggest a completely different way, and that is to consider that you've got a partly inflated balloon, that shape is drawn on it. And if you inflate the balloon a bit more, you'll get a shape that is similar to that because it's expanded in all directions. Or if you deflate the balloon a little bit, it'll be smaller in all directions. So then let's look at the options available to us. Well, it's certainly not that one because that's expanded in those 2 ways, but it hasn't got anywhere there. It's not that one because the lines have got wider, but if it's going to expand, it's going to expand all over. Well, I have to say, I believe it's that one. Everything has got bigger in the same proportion. So I'm going to put my ring around that one. Oh, read the instructions, circle the correct letter. There we go, done. Question 5, work out 20% of 14,000. Now there are lots of ways of doing this. You could say 14,000 times 20 divided by 100. But actually, I think the quickest way is to say, well, I know that 10% of 14,000 has to be 1,400. All we've done is divided by 10, so we've lost the 0, 1,400. So 20% will be double that, so that's 2,800. There we go, 2,800. Question 6, write 0.85 as a fraction in its simplest form. So a fraction, but the simplest form. Well, 0.85, I hope you know, is 85 over 100, and we want to simplify that. Both of those we can see are multiples of 5. Now I guess you know that 5 20s make 100, so we want to know how many 5s there are in 85. You could do a little short division. 5 into 8 goes 1, there's 3 left over. 5 into 35 goes 7, so we've got 17 over 20, and that is the answer. To write 5/8 as a decimal. Now, to change a fraction to a decimal, the easiest thing is to do the top divided by the bottom. There's the top, the numerator divided by the denominator. Put a decimal point there and there, and put some zeros. You can have as many zeros as you like. We're not going to need all those, but hey, 8 into 5 will not go. So the 5 comes with us. 8 into 50 goes 6 times, because 6 8s are 48. With 2 left over. 8 into 20 goes twice because 2 8s are 16 with 4 left over, and 8 into 40 goes 5 times. And we can't go any further, so that's the final answer, 0.625. Question 7. A rectangular carpet measures 8 meters by 6 meters. Now there's the carpet. Part of the carpet is covered by a square rug of length 2 meters. There's the square rug. Show that 1/12 of the carpet is covered by the rug. Well, this is going to be an area question. So let's do the area of the rectangle. The area of the rectangle is going to be 8 times 6. 8 sixes are 48 square meters, of course. The area of the rug, that's the square there, is going to be 2 times 2, which is 4 square meters. So we found that the area of the carpet, that's the rectangle, so let's put carpet there so we're clear. The area of the carpet, look at the picture again, there's the carpet, there's the rug, and we found that the area of the carpet was 48 square meters. The area of the rug is 4 square meters, and so we can simply say that the rug compared to the carpet is 4 over 48. And all we have to do now is to simplify that. Divide the top by 4, we get 1. Divide the bottom by 4, we get 12. So 4 out of 48 is 1/12. So we have shown that 1/12 of the carpet is covered by the rug. Question 8. Sam, Carl and Eric share 40 sweets, but Eric gets the largest share. What's the smallest possible number of sweets that Eric could get? So I'm going to write down Sam, Carl and Eric, and we know they can have 40 altogether. Well, let's give Eric 10. So 40 take away 10 is 30. Oh no, they'd get 15 each. So we're going to give Eric some more. Let's try 12. If Eric gets 12, 40 take away 12 is 28. No, they'd get 14 each. Let's give them 13 each. That's 26. Eric could have 14. That is the smallest number of sweets that Eric can have. So the answer is 14. The time in Rio is 3 hours behind London. The time in New York is 5 hours behind London. What's the time in New York when it is 1 a.m. in Rio? London's coming first, Rio is 3 hours later, and New York is 5 hours behind London. Okay, so if it's 1 a.m. in Rio, and that's 3 hours behind London, so 1 o'clock in the morning in Rio, 1 a.m., 1 o'clock in the morning, so London is 3 hours ahead of that, so it's 4 o'clock in the morning in London. But New York is 5 hours behind London. So go back 4, we'll get to midnight. 1 more then. So it is 11 p.m. Mustn't forget the p.m. 11 p.m. in New York. Question 10. Here is a list of numbers. Work out the median. Well, you'll probably remember that to find the median, you've got to put them in order. So let's do that. The smallest is 1. So I've used that one. Then there's a 2 and another 2. So 2. 2, that 3, 4, then there are 3 5s, so 5, 5 and 5, cross them out to show we've used them, a 6 and the 8 there. Okay, now the median is going to be in the middle, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I thought as much. There are 10 numbers, so we haven't actually got a middle number. The middle is there. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can add those two together. 4 add 5 is 9, and divide by 2, which is 4.5. Or you can just say, well, what's halfway between 4 and 5? It's 4.5. So there we are. There's the median. Now, the next part of the question says, work out the mean. So what we've got to do is to add all those numbers together and then divide by 10. To find the mean, add up all the numbers, divide by 10. So let's look at the numbers again. 1 add 2 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. 12 add 5 is 17. Add another 5 gets us to 22. Add 5, 27. Add 6, 33. Add 8, 41. Now we're going to divide by 10. So let's write this down. Total equals 41. 41 divided by 10 equals 4.1. So there is the mean. Question 11. Now this is a 6-mark question, so there's going to be a lot of processes involved here, I suspect. 300 passengers go on a coach trip. Each coach takes 50 passengers. Each passenger pays £25. The table shows the costs for the coach company, so £90 to pay for the driver for each coach and 70p per mile for fuel for each coach. And each coach travels 200 miles. Work out the total profit the company makes from this trip. Now, profit is what comes in minus what goes out. So income minus expenditure. So what's coming in? There are 300 passengers, each paying £25. So that's the in is 300 lots of £25. Now you may recognize that 325s are 75. So we know we're going to have a 7 and a 5 at the front, and then we're going to have 2 zeros. So 300 times 25, £7,500. Nice bit of income, but what's going out? There are 300 passengers, there's 50 passengers on each coach. So how many coaches do we need? We are going to use 300 passengers divided by 50. So how many 50s in 300? Well, you can do your 50 times table. 1 50 is 50, 2 50s are 100, 3 50s are 150, 4 50s are 200, 5 50s must be 250, so it's 6 50s make 300, so we need 6 coaches. Now, each coach is £90, so we need 6 lots of 90 for the drivers. 6 9s are 54, but we've got that 0, so it's £540 for the drivers. The fuel is 70p per mile. I'm going to draw a line there. 200 miles at 70p per mile, so we need 200 lots of 70. Well, 2 7s are 14, and then 1 2 3 zeros, 1 2 3 zeros. But you might think, well, that's £14,000, that's an awful lot. But actually, remember, that's 70p, so we need a decimal point there. Now, that's for each coach, £140 per coach for fuel. So we now need to do 140 times 6. 0 times 6 is 0, 4 6 is 24, 1 6 is 6, add 2 makes 8. So that's £840 for fuel. And that was the drivers, 6 lots of 90. So the total cost is going to be that 540 plus the 840. So 540, 840, £1,380. The income was 7,500. The cost is 1,380. So if we do income minus cost, that's a 0. 0 take 8. Well, we'll have to cross out the 5, put 4. 10 take 8 is 2. 4 take 3 is 1. 7 take 1 is 6. So the profit is £6,120. I've written in the answer there. I don't need to write the pound sign because they've put it there for me. That is the profit, the income minus the total cost. Question 12a. Work out 16.4 minus 3.92 plus 7.8. Now be very careful here. You might suddenly think, BrodieMaths. Addition has to be done before subtraction, but actually it doesn't. Those have equal weighting. And so here you do the operations in the order that they appear. So you start at the left, 16.4, take away 3.92. So let's do that first. 16.4 minus 3.92. Now you might prefer to put a 0 there. 0 take 2, I cannot do. Cross out the 4, put 3. 10 take 2 is 8. 3 take 9, cross out the 6, put 5. So I've got 13 take 9, which is 4. 5 take 3 is 2. 1 take nothing is 1. So we've got 12.48. And we can leave that there and add the 7.8 to it. We don't need to put a 0 this time. So 8 add nothing is 8. 4 add 8 is 12. So 2 there and 1 comes with us. 2 add 7 is 9. 1 more makes 10. 1 and 1 is 2. So the answer is 20.28. We'll put that in the right place. And the one thing I would point out to you is notice how I've kept the decimal points more or less in line. If you keep them in line, it's much easier to keep the columns well organized and you're less likely to make an error. Question 12b, work out 2,843.61 divided by 7. Now you should be quite confident with this. 2,843.61 divided by 7. 7 into 2 won't go, so we're looking at the 28. 7 into 28 goes 4 times. Exactly, so there's nothing left to come with us to that 4. 7 into that 4 then goes 0, but that 4 comes with us to make 43. 7 into 43 goes 6 times, because you know that 6 sevens are 42, so we've got 1 left. 7 into 16 goes 2 times. 2 sevens are 14, so we've got 2 left. And 7 into 21 goes 3. So our answer to go on the answer spot is 406.23. Question 13. In a game, 2 fair spinners are spun. Spinner A marked 1, 2, 4, and 6, and spinner B 2, 3, 2, and 5. The little arrows are a bit confusing there, but I think they're the spinner arrow. If the numbers the arrows land on are different, the score is the higher number. If the numbers the arrows land on are the same, the score is 0. Okay, complete the table to show the possible scores. This is part A. So let's look. Spinner A. If it lands on 1, so that's a 1 and that's a 2, then you get the higher number, which is 2. If it lands on 1 and you get the other 2, you're going to get the 2. If it lands on 1, you get the 3, you're going to get the 3. And if it lands on 1 and 5, you're going to get the 5. If spinner A lands on 2 and spinner B lands on 2, you get 0. 2 and 3, you're going to get 3. 2 and 5, you're going to get 5. And we hardly need to look at the spinners anymore now. We can look at it here. Spinner A goes to 4. Spinner B on 2. The score is the higher number, so that's 4. And that's 4. And that's 4. But that's 5. And this one is going to be 6, 6, 6, and 6. Now for part B, write down the probability that the score is an odd number. Well, how many possible results are there? There are 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 possible results. And how many of those are odd? Well, it looks like actually only those 2 and those 3. Those are the odd numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 out of a possible 16. Now, question 13, part C. The same game is played using spinners C and D. The numbers on C are shown, the numbers on D aren't. The table shows some of the possible scores. Our job is to write the missing numbers on spinner D. Okay, so if we look here, if on spinner C we got a 1, but on spinner D we got a 4, remember we've got to write down the higher score, so that's got to be 4. Let's look at this one. On spinner C, we get a 4, we get a 0. That means they're the same, so that has to be a 4 as well. If on spinner C, we get a 7, there must be a 7 on D, because we've got 0 there. But if on spinner C, we get a 7, and there's an 8 as our result, that means that spinner D must have an 8. So I think that spinner D has a 4, and a 4, and a 7, and an 8. Question 14. 2 people working at the same rate will take 6 hours to paint a room. Assuming that they all work at this rate, how long will it take 3 people to paint the room? Well, you've got to get your head around this, but actually 2 people are taking 6 hours. That means it's 12 hours of work. 12 hours of work altogether to paint the room. Now, if there are 3 people to paint the room, all we've got to do is 12 divided by 3, which of course is 4. It's going to take 4 hours to paint the same room at the same rate. In fact, the third person works at a faster rate. How does this affect the time to paint the room? Well, if the third person is going faster, the room will be painted more quickly. It will take less time because one of the workers is working even faster than those 2 were in the first place. Question 15. 3a plus b equals 7. And 6x plus 8y equals 40 Show that 9a plus 3b has a greater value than 3x plus 4y. Okay, so we've got 3a plus b is 7. And we want 9a plus 3b. Well, you may notice that we've multiplied that part by 3 and that part by 3. So we have to multiply that part by 3. So 9a plus 3b is worth 21. Let's look at the other one. 6x plus 8y equals 40, but we want 3x plus 4y, and you can see that both of those have been halved, so that has to be halved. So that's 20, so 21 is greater than 20. Question 16. Circle the point that lies on the line x minus 3 equals 0. By adding 3 to both sides, we can have just x on the left, because minus 3 plus 3 means the 3 has gone, and 0 plus 3 gives us 3. So the line is actually x equals 3, which means that the x coordinate of every point on that line is going to be 3. And the only one like that is that one. Question 17. A is a negative odd number. Circle the words that describe a squared. Well, let's take a negative odd number. Let's take minus 3. It's negative and it's odd. But as soon as we square it, we've got negative 3 times negative 3. And a minus times a minus is a plus. So that becomes plus 9. So negative 3 squared is plus 9. Look at the options. It has to be that one. It's a positive number, but it's an odd number. That's positive, negative, negative, but that's even, so it has to be that one. Question 18. Circle the ratio, which is the same as the scale. 1 centimetre represents 1 kilometre. We've got 1 centimetre, we've got 1 kilometre. Let's change the kilometre, first of all, into metres, so that's 1,000 metres. But of course, every metre is 100 centimetres. So 1 kilometre must be 100 times 1,000, so it's 100,000. So now it's 1 to 100,000. It has to be that one. I should have written centimetres there. Question 19. Circle the percentage that is closest in value to 1/3. Now you may remember that to find a percentage, we start with a fraction, we do the top divided by the bottom. So 1 divided by 3. We know it's going to be a decimal, so we can put a row of zeros. 3 into 1 won't go, so that's 0. So the 1 comes with us, so we've got 3 into 10 goes 3 times with 1 left over. 3 into 10 goes 3 times, 1 left over, 3, and so on. You can see what's happening. We might as well go all the way to there. It would, of course, go on forever. We started with a fraction. We've got a decimal. We times by 100. So 0.33333 times 100 is going to be 33.333 and so on. So 33.3 recurring. Well, there it is. Question 20. Work out square root of 121 minus, this part is in brackets, 13 minus 5 times 2, and the bracketed part is squared. So remembering BrodieMaths, we ought to look at the brackets first, so let's do that. So we've got 13 minus 5 times 2. That's the part that's in the brackets. We've got to square it in a minute. Inside the brackets, we've got a subtraction and we've got a multiplication. And multiplication comes before subtraction, so we need to do the multiplication first. So we've got 13 minus 5 times 2, which is 10. Remember, this is all squared. We'll put the squared sign in. 13 take 10 is 3, so we've got 3 squared, and 3 squared is 9. So we've sorted that bit out. Now, the square root of 121 is 11, as you know. You are supposed to know all the squares and square roots up to 15 squared. So the square root of 121 is 11. So we'll put 11 there. And we're subtracting what we found from the brackets, which was 9. 11, take away 9. The answer is simply 2. Question 21, part A. Reflect the triangle in the line x equals 2. So there's the triangle. First of all, we've got to decide where the line x equals 2 is. Well, the line x equals 2 is the line where every x coordinate is worth 2. So for example, that coordinate there, x is 2, y is 5. This coordinate here, x is 2, y is 2. This coordinate here, x is 2, y is -3. So on all of those places, the x coordinate is 2. So there is our line, x equals 2. Very important to know how to do that. And we're simply reflecting this triangle. So if we pick a point like that, it's 1 square away, so it's going to be 1 square away there. This point here, 1, 2, 3 away, so we've got to go 1, 2, 3. This one's 1 away, so there it is. And we can see that we have a reflection in the line x equals 2. So we can shade that in, make it nice and clear, but there's our reflection. Question 21b, rotate the kite 90 degrees anti-clockwise about 0, 0. So that means our center of rotation is there, that's 0, 0. We're going 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Now the easiest thing to do is to make a rough sketch of the kite, and then what I always do is put my pencil point quite sharply on the center of rotation, and we're rotating anti-clockwise 90 degrees. So it's a quarter turn anti-clockwise, and there it is. So now we need that point there, so I'm going to put a little mark there. We need the point 3, 2. We need the point 3, -2, and we need the point 4, 0. So that's it there. Now we can remove the tracing paper and simply join the points up. And just check it, does it still look the same shape? Yes, it does. Let's shade it in, make it nice and clear. There we are. Question 22. Anna plays a computer game. Each game is a win or a loss. She wins 3/4 of her first 24 games, and then she wins her next 12 games. For all 36 games, work out the ratio of wins to losses. Give your answer in its simplest form. Well, first job, we've got to find out what 3/4 of 24 is. So we're looking for 3/4 of 24. Now, the easiest way to do that is to get the 24, split it into 4. 4 6s are 24. And we want 3 of them, because that's what it says. Split it into 4, keep 3. 3 6s are 18. So now we know that she's won 18 of her first 24 games. She then wins the next 12 games. So she's winning all of those. So 18 out of 12 is 30. She has played 36 games altogether. 24 out of 12 is 36. So she has won 30 out of 36. There's the ratio of wins to the total number of games. But I've just checked again. For all 36 games, work out the ratio of wins to losses. So if I wrote that, I'd be wrong. We want wins to losses. Well, we've got 30 wins. There were 36 games, so there must have been 6 losses. So the ratio of wins to losses is 30 to 6. Both of those are multiples of 6, of course. 5 6s make 30, and 1 6 is 6. So the ratio that we need, the ratio of wins to losses, is 5 to 1. Question 23. A solid shape is made from centimetre cubes. Here are the plan, side elevation, and front elevation of the shape. Well, what I'm going to suggest is that you try to sketch one layer at a time. You can see it's got 4 layers because the front elevation shows it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, and there's the plan. So I'm going to try sketching that. If I draw a vertical line and another vertical line there, and this represents the bottom layer, the side view of it. I've split it in the middle, split that again, and then we need 3 along the front. So I'm splitting it there and there. Now that shows the bottom layer. Just join those across. Now it is only a sketch, but there is the bottom layer. There's the plan, but you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes there, but that cube in the corner is the same one as that one there. So those two are the same cubes. So we've got 1, 2, 3 across the front. So there's the bottom layer. How many cubes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I'm going to put the next layer on. You can see that that is exactly the same. So not very good sketching there, sorry. But put another layer on. It's going to look something like this. And we know that that's 6 again. Important with the corner one that you don't draw a line across that way. But there you go. We can still see the bottom layer. We've got another 6 cubic centimeters there. Now we're going to put the next layer on. Now that's only 2 wide. So we only need to go this far. But it's still 3 across the front. So we're going all the way to there. How many cubic centimeters is it? Is 1, 2, 3, 4 on that layer. And the top layer is simply 1 and then 3 across still. My drawing is getting scruffier and scruffier, but that shows that there's 3 at the top. So what have we got? 6 and 6 is 12. Add 4, that's 16. We've got 19 cubic centimeters. 19 little cubes. Now, centimeter cubes are added to make this cuboid. Now, the cuboid is easy. It's the same front. It's 3 across. It's 4 deep. Of course, it's drawn much smaller, but the volume of that, the number of cubic centimeters making that is 3 times 4, which is 12, times 4, which is 48 cubic centimeters. Perhaps I'll write that in. 3 times 4 times 4 is the 48 cubic centimeters. We used 19 to make that crazy looking building there. So 48 subtract 19 will tell us how many extra were needed. 8 take 9, so we'll cross it. 4 put 3. 18 take 9 is 9. 3 take 1 is 2. We needed 29 extra little cubes. Question 24. Divide 405 in the ratio 4 to 11. We've got 405. We've got 4 parts compared to 11 parts. So I always consider these are parts. 4 and 11, we've got 15 parts altogether. So we need to divide the 405 by 15 to find the size of each part. 15 into 4 won't go. 15 into 40 goes 2. 2 15s are 30, so we've got 10 left over. Now the question is, how many 15s are there in 105? Because that's what we've got there, 105. Now you could do your 15 times table. 1 15 is 15. 2 15s are 30. 3 15s are 45. 4 15s are 60. 5 make 75. 6 make 90. Add 15 to that, we get to the 105. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each part, there are 15 parts. Each part is worth 27. So we've got 4 lots of 27. 7 4s are 28. 2 4s are 8. Add that 2 makes 10. So that's 108. 4 27s. I'm going to move up a bit for this one. 27 times 11. 7 ones are 7. 2 ones are 2. Now we're on to the tens column. So we put a 0 in the units. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2. Add those two together. 7, 9, and a 2. So that's 297. Now, just out of interest, a way of checking this, if you add those two together, you should get back to 405. I haven't got much space, but I'll do it over here. 297, add 108. 7 add 8 is 15. 9 add 1 is 10. 2, 3, 4. We're back to our 405, which is as it should be. So we know that's right. Question 25. The height of Zach is 1.86 meters. The height of Fred is 1.6 meters. Write the height of Zach as a fraction of the height of Fred. So if we're going as a fraction, we're going to need a line. What goes at the top? What goes at the bottom? Well, Zach's height goes at the top. Fred's height goes at the bottom. We're writing the height of Zach as a fraction of the height of Fred. Now you can see this is an improper fraction, top-heavy fraction. We want to get rid of those decimal points. So we're going to have to times that by 100. But if we've times that by 100, to be fair, we've got to times that by 100. So that's going to be 160. Now we've done that, we can simplify both of these. The easiest way is perhaps divide by 2, because we can see they're both even numbers. So 186 divided by 2, well, you might want to do it in this way. 2 into 1 won't go. 2 into 18 is 9. 2 into 6 is 3, so that's 93. And you might notice that 160 divided by 2 is 80. I don't think there's anything else we can do. We have simplified it. Give your answer in its simplest form. That's 93 over 80, which is equal to 1 and 13/80. Question 26. A, 0, 2, and B, 6, 5 are points on the straight line ABCD, and AB is equal to BC, which is equal to CD. So that is equal to that, which is equal to that. Work out the coordinates of D. It's a very straightforward question, actually, because we can go from A to B. Now, the coordinates of A are 0, 2. So we know that's 2 on the y-axis. The coordinates of B are 6. So that's 6 in the x-axis and 5. And this is where you can really see that the diagram is not drawn accurately. To get from 2 to 5, we've gone up 3. So we need to go up 3 to get to C, which is going to be there. And D is going to be there. The y-coordinate of C is going to be 3 more than that, which is 8. And the y-coordinate of D, 3 more than that, which is 11. And looking along the x-axis, to get from A to B, we've gone 6 in that direction. So C will be 6 further on, which will be 12. And D will be 6 further on, which will be 18. So, in fact, the coordinates of D are 18, 11. 18 on the x-axis, 11 on the y-axis. Now, I haven't shown any workings out, but I've shown them on the diagram, and the examiner will accept that. So, answer 18, 11. Question 27. A coin is thrown 50 times. It lands on heads 31 times. Write down the relative frequency it lands on heads. Now, look at the words write down. They usually show that the answer is already there for you. The relative frequency is simply 31 out of 50. We're just using what is there. Now, Raj says the coin is biased towards heads. Use the data to give a reason why he might be correct. Well, we could say we would expect a normal coin to land on heads 25 times out of 50. 31 is greater than 25, so the coin may be biased. Question 28. Solve. 5 times x plus 3, the brackets means that the 5 is multiplying the part in brackets, is less than 60. Now what we need to do is to simplify this. Easiest way to simplify this is not to multiply into the brackets, but actually to notice that 5 times x plus 3 is a multiple of 5, and 60 is a multiple of 5. So if we divide both sides by 5, we're going to have on the left x plus 3 is less than 12. We've divided both sides by 5. And this is where we can lose the brackets. X plus 3 is less than 12. And then we can subtract 3 from both sides. X is less than 9. So there's our answer. X is less than 9. And you could check it to see, is that going to work? What if we said x was 10? 5 times 10 plus 3, that's 5 times 13, which is 65, which is bigger, so that doesn't work. Let's say x is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 5 11s are 55, which is less than 60, so it does work. So that's a way of checking that you've got the right answer. Question 29. The range of a set of numbers is 15 1/4. The smallest number is -2 7/8. Work out the largest number. Now remember what range means. Range means the difference between the largest number and the smallest number. Now the smallest number is -2 7/8. Let's put this on a number line. Let's make that a number line. And let's put 0 there, and -1 there, and -2 there, and -2 7/8 is going to be somewhere around there. -2 7/8. And the range is 15 1/4. We need to go from there up by 15 1/4. So actually, if we do 15 1/4, subtract 2 7/8, we should find the size of the larger number. Now it's going to be easier to change these to improper fractions. So 4 15s are 60, add 1 makes 61, so that's 61 over 4, subtract 2 8s is 16, add 7 is 23, subtract 23 over 8. That's got 8 at the bottom, That's got 4 at the bottom. So the denominator is 8, the denominator is 4. We can make this one have a denominator of 8 simply by doubling both parts. So 8 is the denominator, double the top, you've got 122. So 122 over 8, take away 23 over 8, and that's a nice, easy solution. 99 over 8, and 8 into 99 goes 12, because 12 eighths are 96, so it's 12 and 3/8. 12 and 3/8. Question 30. Y is inversely proportional to x. Complete this table. Now, with inverse proportion, you probably know that you have to write y equals k over x, where k is a constant. Then look at the chart where they've given us both bits of information. We can put that into our little formula here, and we've got 4 equals k over 6. I've put the y value in, I've put the x value in. That means that k must be equal to 24, because 4 equals 24 divided by 6. So now we know that k is 24, we can put that into our formula. So y equals 24 over x. Now that means when x is 12, y will be 24 over 12, and 24 divided by 12 is 2. Now we can use the same formula again here. Y equals 24 over x, but this time we've got the y value. So 8 is equal to 24 over x. And here you can cross multiply. 8x is 24. 8x is 24. So x will be 24 divided by 8, 3. So we can put that in the chart. And then question 31. A large rectangle is made by joining 3 identical small rectangles as shown. Now they are identical. They're 3 rectangles the same. The perimeter of one small rectangle is 15 centimeters. Work out the perimeter of the large rectangle. Now the easy way to do this is to say, well, I'm going to call that side of that little rectangle there, I'm going to call that x. If I'm calling that x, because these are the same, that must be x and that must be x. Now, if that's x and that's x, this must be x and x, which is 2x. And this must be x. So going round this for the perimeter, we're going from here round this one, x plus 2x, that's 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x. And we know that 6x is worth 15 because they told us the perimeter of one small rectangle is 15. So x must be 15 divided by 6. Unfortunately, 15 is not in the 6 times table, but you know that 2 6s are 12, and there'd be 3 left over, so we've got 2 and 3/6, which is, of course, the same as 2 1/2, and we could write that as a decimal, 2.5, because I think that's going to be easier. So x is now 2.5 centimeters. Looking now at the big rectangle, you can see that that side of that small rectangle is 2x. The length of that side of the big rectangle has to be 3x. That's 2x. This length must be 3x as well. And this length will be 2x. So let's follow that round. 3x add 2x is 5x. Another 3x gives us 8x. Another 2x gives us 10x. The perimeter is 10x. Now x is 2.5. So we need 10 times 2.5, and that, of course, is 25 centimeters. So the perimeter of the large rectangle is 25 centimeters. Question 32. Put these numbers in order from smallest to largest. So we've got 4 numbers here. 3 of them are shown in standard form. So we'll change those from standard form. 8 times 10 to the negative 4. Well, I don't know if you know this trick. I'm going to write it here. That's 0.123 4. 4 times 10 to the minus 2 is 0.12. 6 times 10 to the minus 4 is 0.123 and 0.07 is, of course, 0.07. So they're all in a matching format now. But to make them match even better, if we put 2 zeros on there, so that each one of these, and 2 zeros on there, each one of these now has 4 digits after the decimal point. Now what I tend to do is to hide the decimal point so that that looks just like an 8, that looks like a 400, that looks just like a 6, and that looks like a 700. And that kind of gives it all away. This one must be the smallest. So 6 times 10 to the negative 4, then it's that one, and then it's this one, and the biggest one is that one. So we'll write it back the way it was written in the first place. Then we see the sign, end of questions. So it's all done. Thanks for watching.